Hey friends, perfect time for you to stop by because I actually want your opinion on something. See, I've been debating over this whole concept of humans being worth more than animals. One side tends to think that humans and animals are nowhere even close to the same level, like animals being down here, humans way above them, and they tend to be religious. Or at least they tend to have a moral justification for putting humans above animals. And the other side negates that elevation and just says that humans and animals are worth the exact same.
Hey!
Yeah, we're here to,
Oh, hey, pro and anti. Perfect time for you to stop by. I was just talking to my friend and trying to help them stay informed on this whole debate about whether animals are worth more than humans. Actually, one second. Let me check my notes. Yes. So one of the major disagreements between the two of you is that has to be whether or not animals having a superior conscience makes them worth more. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Wait, there's people that disagree that humans have superior intellect?
Hello? Yes, the current science shows that humans are not superior in intelligence to the rest of the animal kingdom, just we're different. A leading expert, Professor Mashi Heinberg, a professor of anthropological and comparative anatomy from the School of Medical Sciences, says animals often possess different abilities that are misunderstood by humans. Meaning, yeah, we're wonderful at making societies. We've essentially eliminated hunting because of the grocery store, but if we had to communicate by sense, we'd probably fail. Yeah, there's just different things that's going on. So we have intelligence, but are we really the most intelligent? I don't think so, and I don't think science agrees with that either.
Intelligence may exist in many different forms, but we are talking about superior intellect here. Humans here, animals like way down there. Okay? This is because God created man to be better. Thus, I can't understand how something that we both agree is superior isn't actually superior.
Whoa! Intellect isn't everything. When we're discussing value, we're discussing inherent moral worth. And we humans are just animals, created by God or not. We are undeniably part of the animal kingdom, and as animals, we aren't by default worth more than a cat or a cow just because we say we are.
Anti, you bring up an interesting point because the next disagreement that I hear from the two sides is that animals are more human than humans.
Whose side are you on anyways?
What? No, pro, I'm not on anyone's side. I'm just trying to present the facts and data so our friend here can have a more informed opinion.
Well, stay in your lane then, TMF. Because what people could describe as moral behavior that we see within animals is nothing more than God's presence in the animal kingdom. It's simple. Animals do not have the same level of consciousness that humans do.
What's your point, pro? Animals have clearly been shown to have levels of empathy and love for beings that aren't themselves. So what does it matter if they have the same levels of consciousness?
I'd argue that it matters a hell of a lot because without conscious motives, this behavior can be dismissed easily as nothing more than God's presence within the animal kingdom.
Here we go with a religious thing.
That's why humans are the chosen few, because we have free will. If humans didn't have free will, we'd just be acting as God wanted us to, but God granted us the imperfect being to be free of that will, and thus all other animals are just instruments of God.
Back up, pro. Gorillas are capable of learning sign language. Dogs are capable of empathy that isn't even demonstrated by most humans. And penguins, they are more capable of monogamy than humans will ever be. Seriously, pro. I refuse to accept that the pure nature is just God controlling them. Animals are capable of making these choices themselves. Maybe we don't look at it as free will, but wait, actually on that point, did you just say that an all-powerful being such as God can't control a human? Come on, even for you, that's a tad over the top, don't you think?
Look, I'm not saying that God can't control a human. It just merely he chooses not to more often than not because we have free will and he wants us to choose him and have the life of what that he wants for us. And if we are just going to be like an animal and not have that level of consciousness, then we would, again, just be a tool for him
All right,
to use.
I think we're getting off topic here. Even if those on the pro tend to use their religious beliefs to justify their sentiment, let's move on to another major disagreement. Is that okay with the two of you? All right, let me check my notes. Okay, so the next big one being the argument surrounding being a speciesist. Your side often claims that this is a really negative thing. Why is that?
Well, it's simple, really. Being a speciesist.
Wait, what are you guys even talking about? What's a species?
Oh, my bad. Should have explained that. For our friend here, a speciesist is just someone who values certain species over another. So you would be a speciesist if you value humans, cats, and dogs above cows, chickens, and whatnot.
Exactly, because you, pro, value humans over the rest of the animal kingdom, which makes you a speciesist.
Whoa! It's not my fault that God views humans as superior, yet if we're discussing pets, I would definitely choose my cat over saving you any day. So what do you have to say about that, Anti?
Guess I have to explain this to you like a child, since we're lobbing insults at each other. Being a species is a negative because it inherently means that you value one species over another, which makes your moral values inconsistent. To use your pet example, if you value cats and dogs over humans, you are making a moral worth argument that is based purely on feeling. Cows, horses, dolphins, and the many other plethora of animals out there all have moral worth, but we just don't interact with them as often. Thus, they don't have that intense moral worth that our pets would, which makes you a speciesist because you're devaluing them over other species. If you claim only one species has moral value, especially in your case when you're claiming that all of them are God's creations, then you are also recognizing that other animals have value. You're just admitting that you don't even care about their moral worth, which makes you, again, a speciesist and makes your moral code hypocritical.
We're all hypocrites about something. I mean, let's be honest about that. We are humans, we're imperfect beings, remember? But let me add this too. Is it really hypocritical to need to eat? Cows, pigs, chickens, they all have extremely high value in terms of being food. Are you really going to claim that ensuring that you stay alive is bad? Because if that is, I'd rather be a hypocrite than dead. Every living creature on this planet is driven to stay alive and survive. And in order to do so, we all need those key ingredients: oxygen, food, and water. And if we don't have those, we're going to perish. So what's wrong with needing to eat?
Hello? You can easily become a vegetarian or a vegan in today's society. Do you even hear yourself when you talk?
Yeah. You can be a vegan and a vegetarian if you come from a wealthy first world country, acting all entitled over here. That's not the case for most of the world. I dare you to go to a third world country and start scrutinizing people for needing to eat meat because that's the only thing around. These plant-based diets and these nut-based diets only exist in first world countries. They do not exist to the starving African child. They do not exist to the orphaned Chinese children. So honestly, Anti, and anybody who agrees with him, you can get on your high horse and get the heck out of here.
All right, I feel like we're getting off topic again, and I want to get my friend's opinion on this here. So let's go ahead and review what we've talked about and see if there's a win-win. Bro, you talked about God granting dominion over other animals, and furthermore, talking about how the consciousness and the superiority of human intelligence elevates humans above the rest of the animal kingdom. And we can't blame humans for using animals for human needs, right?
Yeah, That's essentially.
Good. And Anti, you discussed how humans grant moral worth to animals, which doesn't inherently mean that any animal has more worth than any other. Superior intelligence and consciousness, if anything, means that we should, as humans, be more inclined to value animals and not degrade them to a subhuman level, right?
That's right.
All right, with that basis, what about a middle ground surrounding the concept of speciesism? Now, we talked about this a little bit ago, and it's apparent that Anti views this as a negative, so we're going to have to work past that before we get to the middle ground. So when you're talking to Antis, just try to approach it like this. It's impossible for humans to value all life equally. We as humans decompartmentalize all of our emotions into different subsections to be able to just survive the day to day. It's a pretty intense reality that we live in. But for example, let's just go ahead and talk about one animal in particular, humans. When was the last time that you cried over someone dying in prison? How about when was the last time you cried over a starving child in Africa that you didn't know? When was the last time you cried about the statistical reality that nearly 2 people die every second? I mean, 2 people just died right then. Did you cry? Did you feel an emotional connection to them? I mean, if you knew them, you're probably not watching this video right now. But if you didn't, then you know it's not going to impact you. So we all cry for those that we know, but if we don't know them, it's very hard for us to really care for them. Let's turn to a recent example to further strengthen my point of Heather Heyer. And I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that wrong. But Heather was the woman who was ran over by a literal Nazi in the Charlottesville protests in America. And, many people came out to mourn her death because, she stood for a symbol. She was standing up to what we literally fought World War II over. Like, the fact that Nazis are coming back, that's a whole other video. It's messed up. But this woman, she died defending what our nation sent thousands of people to die over. And so it made sense that a lot of people would mourn her. I myself, I just had a few days where I was a little somber and over the fact, and I'm, mourned her in the same sense, but it didn't devastate me to the point of like a close relative or one of my pets or, somebody that really was a member of my life. It was definitely one of those moments of like, damn, that sucks. I'm proud of her, but it sucks. And without her actually being a victim in that situation, I would have never known her. And I'd prefer that I had never known her. I prefer that she'd still be alive. But at the same time, if that was the case, I wouldn't have any emotional connection. So you see how when we decompartmentalize, and this is a natural thing that all humans do, it's nearly impossible for us to value all human life. And in this emotional disconnect is where I believe that there is a middle ground. The middle ground I'm thinking about, and this is what I really want your opinion on, friends, so please join the debate in the comment section down below. But it's the middle ground about pro and anti both being specious. Pro is a specious in the sense that they value humans and any other animals they directly interact with more. So cats, dogs, fish, snakes, what have you. And anti is a specious in the fact that they value almost all human and other animals equally, but they tend to value animals more than humans. And we can talk about the middle ground here is by breaking that list down from this like broad concept of speciesism into talking about the moral inherent value of each species individually. I see this as a win-win because we break away from this general open, broad chaos of an argument, and we start to talk about what each species brings to the table, how each species benefits the world, because without the world none of us would exist and none of this argument would be moot. So we just want to talk about what each species brings to the value, and I see this as a win-win because as a moral debate, you're not going to be able to convince people against their moralities just in having coffee with them or sitting at a bar. This debate is going to would be a years open-ended conversation, emphasis on the years. And you're not going to be able to just change their moral value. So let's talk about the moral value of each single species. Again, Anti admits that we as humans give that moral value, and I can guarantee you Pro is easily, if they don't already admit that, they're easily convinced towards the humans giving value. If for the long shot you could just take it from that and just be like, well, God gives value, okay? You know, if you want to talk about that, but it's a moral argument. And so we want to break these sides down and start to listen to each other, and maybe we can find common ground. Maybe both people value plankton and really understand how phytoplankton and plankton and all the others are super valuable to our ecosystem. Or maybe they agree and they're like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. I don't care about anything in the sea. I don't care about sharks. I don't care about crabs. I don't care about, you know, the list could be on. And then you can start to find middle ground if once you start talking about each species individually. And from there, we can start talking about how each species impacts us, and maybe we can start to listen to each other, and then within that common ground that we're finding, then we can start maybe shifting each other's moral alignments. That's a long shot, but we need to start by finding common ground, and I believe that win-win middle ground is 1, first accepting that we're specious, and then 2, bringing it into a more specified conversation by just listing each species individually and just going down the list. Do you value monkeys? Do you value horses? And even in that, there's subspecies. So it's a long list. And let me know which species you care about the most in the comment section, because I'm really interested. With that middle ground in mind, what do you think, friend? Do you agree with Pro? Do you agree with Anti? Are you already in the middle ground? Do you have a better middle ground in mind? Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And thank you very much for joining us for this debate. And with that, I'm going to go back and research some more stuff so we'll be able to talk a little bit more about another topic. Doodles!
Hi. They're still here, Pro. What do we do? I wasn't prepared for this. They're still here.
Of course they are, Anti. It's an end screen.
Oh, it's an end screen. When is it end?
Now?